I'm Daz, and I'm not in my workshop. I'm somewhere else, which is a bit messy, but what we have in front of us is a Alba Radiogram. I don't know what age it is. I'm guessing late 60s to mid 70s. This belongs to my friend Rob, that used to belong to his mother, and he's given it to me to see if I can do some electrical restoration on it. It has a turntable and a long and medium wave tuner. It is solid state. There's a couple of cubby holes around the back, which I'll show you, which you can gain access to. Here's the rear of the unit, and we can see that the mains cable has been cut off. There's an inspection hatch here to get at the tuner. Here's the underside of the unit, and you can see there's an inspection hatch there underneath the turntable. Well, here's the inspection hatch under the turntable. These appear to be plastic screws, so I'll just loosen that. And what we appear to have here is a bottom of a BSR turntable, and it looks like there's a wire cut off here. There's 3 wires to the motor, so either that's for 110, or perhaps this is even old enough to have a tap on for a valve amplifier maybe. The number is up there, but I can't read it very well upside down. NA 1788/200, 230 volts at 50 Hertz. Grease looks very, very thick, so that's probably going to need some work. There's also some cobwebs in here, which come free of charge. Well, here's the loudspeaker wire. One appears to have a removable clip, and the other one appears to be soldered, which is a bit strange. Not quite sure what's going on there. Let's see what's under the cover. Go. Oh, a lot of dust, I must say. And there's the amplifier module itself with the tuner. There's a transformer and a fuse. I'm seeing a ferret rod. That's getting a little bit closer. So it looks like, take off the mains cord, and there's a bolt there and a bolt there. These wires look like you don't want to be catching them. Oh, what's this? New free gift. See back for details. No idea what that is. Oh yes, it's something out of a cigarette packet, I believe. Here's the BSR deck. That's a plastic turntable. Let's try and keep this in shot. Yes, it's a mono cartridge in there. Interesting tone arm. We have a couple of the knobs, but we seem to be missing most of them. The obligatory BBC sticker, which I think was issued in the late 70s, showing the new frequencies. As Radio 4 then moved to 200 kHz, 1500 meters. I'm not sure if we've got a broken button there. It might just be that the clip has slipped up on it. Hopefully that is the case. It looks like, unfortunately, a lot of the markings have indeed slipped off. Well, I've got the chassis on the bench now, and I've noticed obviously there's a few problems. Now, first of all, of course, this broken switch here, and also down here there's 2 bits of the plastic for the tuning wheel broken. I'll have to see if I can zoom in. Not the easiest thing to photograph, but
yeah, look, you can see two bits of plastic have popped out of the centre of the tuning wheel that goes to the capacitor there, so I'll have to see if we can glue them back in and perhaps reinforce it. Here's the loudspeaker. You can see it's got, well, the surround has got sort of popped in and popped out. I found these two 50 pences inside, so that's probably the reason why. I guess they somehow got through the front grille. You can see where some light has obviously come through. The cone is well stripy now, so I'm not quite sure how to deal with that. Maybe some PVA and water, and I might have to pop that back into position and hope that the cone doesn't rub. Right, well, what I've done is I've tapped onto the capacitor. I know from the circuit I've now got that it's about 24 volts, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up gradually on a power supply and just let the capacitors reform, and I'm on a current limit so that if anything goes wrong it doesn't do any damage. The last thing you want to do is switch something like this on with dodgy capacitors and blow the speaker or the germanium transistors. So I'm just going to bring this up very gradually. Well, initially I did get a little bit high current around the 6 or 7 volts, but I just left it to settle. I'm running it on 15 volts now, and it's drawn about 20 milliamps, so that's fairly safe. So we got some amplifier action there, so that's good. So it sort of proves that the output stage is probably going. Whether the radio works, I don't know. That seems rather dead. Plenty of clicking and popping. Doesn't seem to be much signs of life. Well, I've just wound the voltage up to 17 volts and I was quite surprised. We've now got some life. I'll have to look at the circuit again. It might be how the circuit's biased, that it's not going to work on too much lower voltage than... Good. It's not going to work on too much lower voltage than it was designed for, so hey, at least it sort of proves that we have life before we start to work on anything else. Yeah, we can see where the two bits of plastic have broken off here. It seems to correspond to where the flats are on the variable capacitor. So I guess it's just expansion problems maybe that's pushed them off. So what I've done is just glued those two bits in, and I've got a little box of springs, and this is the closest I could find, so I've used the two ends and pushed them over, and I'm going to aridite that, and I'm hoping that'll make a fairly strong fix. Talk about botch it and scarper. Right, let's hope it doesn't all sort of run away before it sets. This epoxy resin's a bit thin. Far too much. What a wonderful botch. I'm just having a go with some PVA and water on this speaker just to see if there's anything I can do with the surround, but I think it's very, very difficult. It's very delicate and I might end up doing more damage than we had before, but I have managed to pull some of the creases out, but not easy. This is not fun. I'm just trying to press it back into shape and hopefully not disturb the voice coil, I hope. Well, looking at the Alba Radiogram problem, I decided to order some push button switches. I've got two different types. This one seems to have brown parts on. I also notice, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, that the pins are not sitting all straight. I wonder if it's just got, these pins have just got pushed up. Yeah, in transit, look, they just push in. Fair enough. and then I've got a set of 3 alternative ones, so I'm hoping something here will fit. So basically with these switches you've got 2 changeover contacts, so when you press it in, it's the contact switches from here to here, from here to here when it's pushed in, and then when it's released it contacts from here to here, so that's used to switch various things in the radiogram. And there's some sort of metal mechanism at the bottom, and somehow when you push one in it releases another one as it's pushed in, and then as you release it it stays in and latches. I wouldn't like to try and fix that mechanism, but anyway, have a look, see if any of these will fit. Yeah, note to self that that one has a star washer on to earth the board to the chassis. And there's 2 screws here, and of course remember to take the screws out of the heat sinks for the transistors and this bit of tape. So now the PCB is loose, but be careful not to break any of the cables. These have all got to be unsoldered. You can see I've put labels on so I don't get in a muddle. I think some things to note here is to make a note where these wires from the transformer come from, because obviously that tap and the bulb, if I was to reverse them, the bulb's going to get more than 6 volts. And also just note the red wire under here connected to the push bank switch. That metal bit sticks out about 3 mil. Right, you're going to come out. Oh yes, there we go. I think you can see the problem I've got here. The one on the right, the pins look a lot further back with the plate forward. This one looks like I might get away with it. That's looking a lot more similar. Pin spacings look the same. Yep, I think you can see that, so I'm trying to, my shaky hands, though it looks like the holes don't line up, unfortunately. So this one's close to lining up with the holes, but as I said, the this pin spacing is so different. Yeah, so it looks like that one's going to win. That protrudes a lot more. That's more like 5 mil, so that's likely to give me a problem. I've put some slots in these now, and I think given this adjustment here, I think I can accommodate the slightly further back PCB, and I guess I'll have to use nuts and bolts because obviously the original screws are not gonna go in those huge holes, so it looks like it might just work. Well, while I was there I decided to change the main smoothing capacitor. I substitute the 2000 at 25 for a 2200 at 63. So this will probably have a better ripple current rating, but this style capacitor always does have a high ripple current rating, so that should be fine without even thinking about it. I'm not going to put anything bigger in, but remember I've got a metal rectifier here, and when you put a really big smoothing capacitor in, you tend to increase the charging pulses on each cycle, and it'll put more strain on that, so I'm not going to do that. It's funny because these always seem to be okay, these more modern ones, these metal rectifiers, because normally in valve stuff you end up replacing them. So I've had to obviously file these holes out a bit, well, in the switch, because of the greater depth, the circuit board is supposed to go into these two notches here, but it doesn't now because it's higher. So I'm just going to try and fix a couple of PCB guides to the metalwork. I've roughened it up. I'll use some epoxy resin. That'll just give it a bit of extra support, but that's unfortunate because this switch bank is slightly different in depth. Well, there we go. I've fixed the PCB guides on. Just got to put the transformer secondary back. I need to find the photographs, but I've done it by resistance anyway, because the tap that drives the lamp is going to be the lowest resistance, and the one that goes to the amplifier itself will be the higher resistance winding, because there's more of the winding. But yeah, botchery I think. Or is it repair? Was it restore? No, botch. Well, this is the loudspeaker part of the radiogram. The original grill is just crumbling, so just my fingernails and a brush, I've got most of it off. I think I'll give it a sand so that there's something for it to bond with, and I've got some speaker grill which I'll put black side out to replace it. This grill had to come off anyway because one of the screws to the loudspeaker started to turn when I was trying to undo it, so that wasn't great, but never mind. Well, it's back to this radiogram at last. Do you know, I've had this over a year. It's time I got this finished. Just reattaching a new mains cable. I was just thinking, looking at the old cable, it's the old colours, so certainly dates this. I think it was 1970, the changeover, where we used brown, blue, green, yellow. So I suppose that helps to date this a little bit more than just the capacitors. Oh dear, I can't remember if I tested this after I changed the switch or not, but I've got no radio operation, although the gram hums. I'm very careful here. What went wrong? Something I did notice. If I hold them in halfway. So what on earth went wrong there? Oh dear. It's quite funny really, despite putting numbers on the diagram of where the wires come from and labelling them, I still managed to swap 1 and 2 over. So what I've basically done is swapped over one of the main windings with one of the coupling windings on the fet rod, so no wonder it didn't work. Seems to work now. That's good. The only thing I'd notice is it is actually fairly difficult to push the amplifier into clipping with the radio signal. I only approach it on the local station, so I'm beginning to wonder if I've got some low gain transistors in here, and yeah, there's hex fit ones, so I'll have to think about that. Well, I've just been doing some checking against the diagram, because obviously I'm a bit suspicious about these lock fit transistors, but all the emitter voltages look about right. So and the input's quite sensitive, so I was getting about 15 volts peak to peak for about 100 about 80 millivolts peak to peak, so that's quite sensitive. That should be fine with a cartridge. So it's okay with the radio. It's just about, you can just about, with a station doing the AGC, making the AGC activate, you can just about reach a peak output, so that's quite good. I'll just turn this up so you can just see it clipping. You can just see it bottoming there on the trace. So yeah, it's a little bit lower, just pre-clipping I prefer. Yeah, about 16. That's into a 16 ohm load. I've got this resistor bank. It's not for high power amplifiers, but it does the job. You might notice there's a bit of an offset. I'm on a very low level now. What have we got? What? 400 millivolts peak to peak. There's no crossover distortion, that's good, but if I turn the level down, you'll see there's a slight offset, and of course I've realised what that's caused by, because of course the amplifier, one of the transistors is actually biased through the loudspeaker, so there's a small DC current flowing through the speaker all the time. It caught me out. I thought, well, why have I got a DC offset here? And of course I realised that's why. So one thing to watch out for. I've cleaned these terminals because the turntable relies on this for a mains earth, so it needs to be clean. They are quite tarnished. I'm quite satisfied that this seems to be okay now. I think the next thing I'll probably go on to is the turntable. And it sounds like I need a new fan in my audio signal generator. That sounds pretty rough at the moment, pretty dry bearing. Anyway, I was thinking of looking at the radio and doing a realignment, but I don't think it needs it. I think the IF sounds nicely balanced when I tune either side. I might do it, I might not. I'll have a look at it. And so it's time for me to have a look at this turntable, I guess. Ooh, that's pretty stiff. I don't know if it's in mid-cycle or what. Oh yes it is. Oh, I think the cam's now reset. That's very stiff. I've got a feeling that the grease I find on this one is going to be like lard or candle wax, I think. Mono cartridge in there with a flip needle. Ooh, that feels a bit stiff. Double LP. Well, I suppose we'll start somewhere, and I'll get the clip out of the platter and see what's lies beneath it. Got my bags ready so I don't lose bits. That's the clip. Let's have a look. The plastic platter. All right. There's ridges worn into this turntable. Blimey. That's the bit where the this rubber wheel rubs, and it does actually look slightly worn. It might just be the dirt. That is dirty. That needs a cleaner. That's interesting. That's fixed on with a nut. It's a plastic gear. Oh, interesting. But this main gear is still this cam is still a metal one. How hard is this? Ooh, no, it's not actually. Oh my god, this is dirty. It's not perhaps as bad as I thought, but I don't know. Clean it up. So this is the idler wheel that touches the motor, and the motor spindle has different sizes, so as you change the speed that should move up and down, but it's completely frozen as well, which is hardly surprising. The grease on here looks, oh yeah, ugh, horrible. I hate to think what this is like. Ooh, it's just about coming up. Oh yeah, that looks nice and thick. So this is the cam that moves the mechanism and the arm, and this bit here is the little mechanism that starts off the cycle, because you can see there's no gears there, so that's its rest position, and this sort of kicks it moving round. The rubbers that hold this motor on, yeah, they seem okay actually, I think. I don't know if they're shrunk. Right, well, looks like, oh, that's almost come out. Oh, that ball bearing's almost lost that ball bearing there. Interesting. Right, ugh. I'm in a mess already. So the flat bearing, this, flat washer, bearing, another flat washer, and then there's a bit of rubber right at the bottom, which is intriguing. I'll go and get my camera and start taking photographs. This is going to be fun, as I can tell. I'm just going to take this rubber wheel out of the way. I'm going to use a bit of IPA alcohol and just clean round this first before I even think about the other side. I've noticed that there's only one washer under this one and one washer on top, which is good. Not too much to remember. Well, I'm sure I'll give this a second clean. I noticed this one's frozen as well as the speed, so not so good. I'm very careful not to drop this stylus. Or take it out actually would probably be a good idea, which is what I should have done in the first place. It may not be any good. I can see a point on it, so that's something. Now I've just got to go through and just clean everything. I think this cam next. Remember to take this off and clean under that, because that usually gets gummed up underneath there as well. I'm sure I've got some brake cleaner somewhere. Maybe that would be more effective. Yuck. There's definitely some dried up grease in this cam, for sure. Look. I've used a bit of IPA on that. Oh, I see. Ugh. Not good. Don't think I'll be brushing my teeth with that again. I'm just removing the speed change mechanism, these plastic bits. I thought I might give them a clean. So that can't come out because that's in the way. So yes, that'll probably have to come off. Clean all this grease off then. There we go. I got it off without adjusting it. So I hope I know where this all goes back. Whoops. Not quite sure I wanted to take the armrest off. Oh well. Never mind. Well, I've cleaned all my plastic bits inside and out. I noticed there's a little black mark on this gear. I imagine that's for alignment. I've managed to not completely remove the black mark. I've got bags with parts in just to try and help me, and photographs, so hopefully I can reassemble this and hopefully we'll have a better movement of the two controls. I didn't notice before, but there's where the black mark was, looking at a photograph, there's a little dimple in the plastic, and they're aligned, so hopefully that's in the right place. Bit of a mistake there. I forgot to put this on before I put the speed change mechanism back in at the bottom, so I'd end up taking it out and then putting this on. You turn it round so that indentation there allows you to get it in, but I'd forgot to do it, so then I had to remember to put it on and then sort of feed it through this hole. But that feels a bit different, I can tell you. A lot different. I thought, I've got a C-clip left over, where does that go? Of course I forgot to put the C-clip on this gear because I was busy adjusting it, but it is so much better. Well, I've unclipped the motor, taped up the switch so bits don't fall out of it. That must be the plastic and rubber off the platter. Yeah, so I'll just take it apart and just have a look, see if there's any felt there. Might as well just de-gunk it best I can. Clean it up, remembering where the washers go and everything. And which way round it goes, unless you want the record playing backwards, of course. Well, the motor's apart, so I'm going to clean all the bearings Clean the bit that touched the rubber wheel carefully. Don't want to take any metal off, do you? Yeah. Don't know if these have got felt pads inside. Any ways to take it apart and look, but don't fancy trying to unhook them in case they snap. But right, let's get my IPA out and give it a clean. It's fairly full of hardened oil and stuff in this bearing. Phosphor bronze, that's the word I was looking for. Sort of porous, allow the oil through. Yeah, pretty grubby in there. Don't think this has got a pad in it because I've put plenty of oil in the bearing and it's sort of come out, so I guess it's just a case of making sure the oil goes into the bearing. I can always clean this again later. Make sure it's sort of worked in. And then I can put it back together and give it a spin. It's always interesting lining it up because you sort of have to try and spin it and get it free before you tighten the nuts and bolts up. Because these bearings move, you have to sort of get it to a line. Well, it's interesting. It says insulate the unused cable. That doesn't look very insulated, does it? So I think a bit of heat shrink over that. Just having a look at the new rubbers. I've got 3, fortunately, from the last project left over, so that's pretty squidgy and that feels a lot more firm. Motor feels good, so I'll just run that up and just check it spins after holding the switch in, and then put the motor back, I think. Yeah, good bit of torque there, so that motor seems to live another day. I've got this on an isolation transformer, means it's not earthed. Yeah, it's clean now. Good. Well, I think this will be the centre of my next attention. Let's take this back off again, I guess. Take out the spindle. And you can see where it sits in there. Oh, I see. That's what releases the record. Right. And take plenty of photographs so that I don't get this wrong. Of course, this is going to be stuck in. I'm going to put some of this in and perhaps it'll help me get it out if I let it soak down. Of course, there's the spring that holds this in as well, so I could release that. That might make the job a bit easier. What a surprise. This ain't moving, so bit of heat, I think. It's so often I do these, I have to try and remember what I did last time. I think I took this out last time. If I remember rightly, I had to take the tone arm, unbolt the tone arm. I'm pretty certain I pulled it back through the arm lifter, so I think that's what I'll do this time. Good job I've got some imperial bits here. 5/16 seems to fit rather well. I always wondered what the nylon bit did, and I now realise it's because this is like a split pin or something. So there's the little lifter adjuster out, and there's a couple of little teeth on that. I don't know how well that shows. Probably won't focus, but there we go. Right, put them somewhere safe because I'll lose them. I'm going to take the arm off now and hopefully not get hit in the face with a spring, I hope. You know, I'm sure I've got some pliers somewhere to do this. It's just that they're buried somewhere and I can't find them. I'm going to go and hit the camera. No, it's not going to move anywhere. That's interesting. Ooh, there we go. Right. Press it that way. There we go. Ooh, that looks a bit rusty, doesn't it? Right, I've removed the screws, self-tappers. It's getting caught on this lever here, and there we go. It's away from the turntable. Yay. Let's just see if I can clean these holes out while I'm at it as well. So no doubt absolutely gummed up. And now I'm going to do that one. Think of something. Well, the only thing I can suggest is put some music on and carefully work my way through this. Ugh, not much fun, is it? Right. Spring off. There we go. There. Right. Spring and washer off. I think it'll lift this way. Every time I do this, I always think something's going to spring out and hit me in the face. Ooh. There we go. That's that bit off. I'll take some more photographs, I think. I can't help thinking there's less bits in this than I've experienced before, but I was wondering where the cam was, so that must be the cam setting the record down. That's the lifting arm I just took out. That's the end of record detection thingy. I don't think I need to take this apart too much more. Perhaps I better not, because if something goes wrong with the photographs, I'm stuffed. There could be a lot of this left soon. Just don't sneeze and lose that little tiny nylon thing. Well, I think that's about as far as I'm going to go. If I remember last time, my problem area was this, but that all looks good now. So anyway, I've got bits in bags in order, so let's think about putting back together. The problem always is just remembering where I need to lubricate and not lubricate. So now I'm thinking about putting it back together. I need to decide where I need to use grease and where oil would be more appropriate. That looks like a place for grease. So I'll just continue to put it back together using the photos and lubricate how I think it should be. It's quite amazing how the grease spreads quite quickly. I only put the tiniest bit on there, and that's quite enough, I believe. Feels smooth. So that will there seems to be, this is like a support for this arm, and this is the arm that is pushed along by the tone arm, so grease I don't think is a good idea here. And also I want to have a look at this ball bearing, because I don't know what was holding the ball bearing in, just the grease, but I've got a feeling this bit may have got bent at some point. So I think I'll just put a drop of glue, oil here, and then go from there. Well, that seems to work. If I get this in the right position. Yeah, there you go. It's pushing it. That should start the auto thingy-majig. The ball bearing doesn't seem to be going anywhere, so happy with that. So this moves with the arm and pushes that. Now there was a lot of grease here. That's where the lifter thing goes through, but I'm thinking oil would be better there. It might have been oil, because obviously you don't want friction on the movement of the arm, do you? I think grease is too thick. Right, well that's the bits for the tone arm back in, and the one of the E-clips nearly went across the room. unfortunately. So, yep. A bit of grease on that, and yeah, that turns nicely. Managed to get that free. So a little bit of grease there, a bit of grease on this bearing, and I've put a bit on here as well. I think that will probably do. Put the spring back on, and just checking the photos with the camera, so make sure I've got things in the right place. Well, the best of my knowledge, that's how it was looking at the photographs. So a little bit of grease there, a little bit of grease there, a bit of oil on that one. This bit's greased, a little bit of grease there. Might need some here, where this rubs against here, I guess. But I can always add that later. Right, well, this sub mechanism is back in. I'll just continue to put things back in. It'll be the arm next. I've got to remember to reconnect that when I'm ready. Just experimenting with a little bit of oil on there just to make it a bit more stable. Yeah, that seems alright. So I think in the case of these things, I think a little goes a long way. Right, just got to put that back on properly. Look like it's snapped on. Right, that's better. Yeah, just a spring here to adjust the weight, so nothing very sophisticated, is it? Right, so yeah, I can feel that's tension now. Hopefully when I go along there, yeah, they are. It feels quite smooth. I put a bit of oil on the shaft before I put it in. So that feels okay, so that's good. That's looking good. Just put the auto changer bit in. There's a little notch there, lines up with there. Click, gone in the spring. That's good. That's good. Well, time to put the cam back on. Put some grease around it, and on the bit that runs in it. Bit of oil on the spindle, so just locate the correct position and get it set on. Okay, so oh, I can see a problem here. It's gone to the 10-inch position and it should have gone to the 7, so I've got something wrong, and it's going to be something to do with this lever, I guess. Yeah, now it's in the 7-inch position, but surely this should have lifted up during the automatic period. Oh dear. It's very difficult to show, but the problem is here. This lever here, I believe I've got this bit of metal from the 10-inch sensor wrong. Well, by using a couple of screwdrivers, I thought I would be able to move this end of the spring over here. And what you can see I've done is I've actually broken it off. So now I've got another problem to solve. Oh well. Well, the spring is sort of wrapped round and went through that hole and come out the other side, so it was made for the job, and removing this spring is quite difficult. Unless I've got a replacement part, which I doubt it. I think I might be slightly snookered here. I'm modifying a spring. I was hoping this will work as a replacement. Well, I might get away with that. It's very difficult to shape the spring to make it stay on, but maybe I'll use a little bit of adhesive as well. Okay. Important lesson learned there. I try to cut corners and it actually cost me a lot more time, so never mind. Okay, fingers crossed. Oh, it's popped up. Turn round. Forgot that. Right, has gone to the 7-inch position. Right, let's see if it will return and park. And it has. Lovely. Okay, let's pretend we've got a 10-inch record here. Yes, okay. Now how am I going to pretend I've got a 12-inch record? I guess like so. Right, good. I think I've simulated a 12-inch. No. That's worrying. I think that's 12-inch. I think I've managed to do it right. Perhaps I should put the motor back in and put a real record on it and just see if it works. I went ahead and put the cam back in and forgot to put the bearings in first. So it's the rubber flat washer. So grease that side up, I guess. And plenty of grease on the ball bearings. And that goes that way, and then the flat washer goes on top. Right, there we go. Hopefully that's going to be a nice smooth operation on that. I've roughened up the idler wheel with very fine very fine 800 grit, and then I've used a bit of my pinch roller reviver just to try and make it a little bit better. I've tried not to get grease on the thing. It's really difficult, but go. Put that on and then just put the clip on. I'm just checking the position of the idler against the steps on the motor shaft at the moment, so it seems about right. I'm a bit worried about moving them because of those grooves in the turntable. So anyway, I've given this a clean, so that's nice and clean. Just hope we get a good grip. The last minute I've just remembered that I forgot to grease the teeth, and the teeth on the I'll use a, is this metal on here or plastic? I think I'll use the plastic compatible grease for that. Yeah, that'll be best. Right, let's see what happens. Oh, it's actually playing. At the wrong speed, but it doesn't matter. Sounds like it's tracking at about 10 grams. Right, let's see if a 12-inch works. Oh yes. I'm expecting a loud clang. Hey, there you go. All the sizes work. I got there in the finish, even though I made a right mess of it, if you ask me, but never mind. Not hearing any output. Well, at least I've just found a cartridge that works for the moment, so yep, at least I've heard it play. So I wanted to fit an auxiliary input on this turntable, so what I've done is I've put a 1/4-inch jack on, and this blue cable is the original cable from the turntable, so it goes through the switch side of the socket. You notice I've actually linked the ground over because I don't want that being disconnected, because it is actually earth for this turntable. You can see I've got a couple of 1K resistors going to the amplifier, so they're transparent to the cartridge because it's got resistance of hundreds of K. But when you plug in an external input, those 1K resistors will stop the two channels from being shorted together. So that's basically what I've done. So hopefully that'll do the job. So I've rubbed Rob's radiogram down with fine wire wool 000, I think, is it 4 noughts? And now I'm just putting some linseed oil on, and as you can see it's quite difficult to get it in between the grill. But it certainly seems to make a difference to it. It certainly looks better. It's not going to look perfect, but it certainly looks better than it was. I'm back to the radiogram. I've managed to find some push buttons that are long enough to fit these switches, because these switches are slightly shorter. So I was at a BVWS event and there were some Tatty radios, and I managed to pick up a Tatty radio with suitably long buttons, because they only seem to be ever around about zoom in, around about 10mm long, so these are ideal. However, in testing it, the radio has now failed, although the gram seems to be okay, but there's something not quite right with the radio. But of course, as soon as I get on the bench, it starts to work. Well, what I've noticed is I can get radio 4 in 2 places. So I think we know what's happened there, don't we? I've got a feeling that the mechanical stop on the variable capacitor has broken. More brittle plastic, I guess. And as this isn't that taut, it can slip. So, so okay, the stop being broken may not be a big problem as long as I ensure that this doesn't slip, but it doesn't explain why sometimes it works and sometimes it does. Unless, of course, it's damaged something in the capacitor and it's shortening. Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
They have that extraordinary Zoffany painting, don't they?
Right, there's a stop there.
One of them.
Yeah.
Classical figure.
Yeah. That's going a little bit more than 180 degrees.
I completely understand that that's the aesthetic we're dealing with.
Right, well, my conclusion is that the cable wasn't quite tight enough, so it has been slipping, but as long as it holds in position now, I shouldn't have too much trouble, and as long as somebody doesn't try and force it beyond the normal tuning range, I think it'll be alright. But it's just that whatever was in the tuning capacitor as a stop to stop it going too far has broken, so that's a bit of a shame. But I think all I've got to do now is just finish making a quarter to 3.5 lead for the auxiliary, and then I might well be getting there. I honestly think the sensitivity of this radiogram is dropping off, so what I've done is I've coupled in some RF so I can measure the AGC voltage at a certain level, and then I think I'm going to try and change these lock fit transistors out because they are renowned for failing, and I've had some crackles and pops as well on the amplifier, so that's what I'm now thinking of doing. So see if that's the cause of the sensitivity appearing to drop off. Well, it says this has got a gain of 489. This is the BC149 audio amp. So in reality it looks okay. Now I must admit the base emitter voltage looks a bit on the high side. So I don't know what to say about that. I think that's 549 I'd replace it. Okay, so I ended up putting a 2N3904 to replace the BC149. It's fine, it's an audio one. What I've got out here now is a BF195D. I'm sure the gain is supposed to be higher than that. 55? Okay, so I've replaced the 195 with a 9018, an SS9018. Now this is the 194B, and this is showing a gain of 122. Okay, well, DC current gain anyway. I must admit that base voltage looks a bit on the high side, doesn't it? Right, here's the converter transistor, which is a 195C, so a slightly lower gain, I would imagine it would need to be, but only a gain of 52. These were something like 36 to 125, so a C and D should be higher than that. So we all know what happens sometimes when you change converter transistors, fingers crossed. Okay, just to summarise, so I've replaced all the transistors with the S9018 on the RF side now, 2N3904 on the driver, so all the lock fits are now out of it. I had a look at the IF because it seemed a little wonky. It appears to be a 470 kHz IF, but it's not on the data sheet, so I just recentered it at 470 because that seemed to be where it was responsive. According to the tests I did, I've got at least another 10 dB of gain now by changing the transistors, and I've also slightly moved the ferrite rods as well to peak them up. There's only one station radio 4, and that won't be there much longer on long wave, but medium wave I moved this at about 600, and of course that's near to where Caroline is at 648, so it's given that the most benefit. And then a little twig on the variable capacitor at the top end. Not that there's any stations at the top end anymore. Not in this country anyway, really. Most of them are shut down now. So anyway, I think it's now a bit more usable. I'm not sure, but it does look like the BF195's the gains had dropped, because I'm sure C and D are supposed to be more like 100, a height of 100. So anyway, maybe I may be able to say this is nearly finished now. Whereas before Radio Caroline was really quite faint, now I can turn it up loud enough to actually distort the output stage, which is a bit more like what it should be. The S9018 transistors, I picked ones with a gain of about 125. between 115 and 125, so I've probably got a lot more gain, but definitely when 195s were changed, there was definitely an increase in gain, so that was good.
From the Explosive Light Orchestra and their electric Laser Spectacular on March the 30th, and on 7th enjoy a mesmerising
on 648 AM, DAB, online, on your smart speaker, and on Preview Channel 277.
Well, you can see where I've replaced the transistors here with the TO92 counterparts to replace the lock fits. When I look at a lock fit, I very much think of the 1970s radios I used to look inside when I was a boy. So they do bring back a lot of memories, I must admit, even if they're not entirely reliable things now.
All the profits will go to the MV Ross Revenge, home of Radio Caroline.